Welcome back to Top 10 Videos Insights, where we will try to find about do we have free will? Starting with video number 10 from Jordan B. Peterson.
I don't think one can honestly look at life and deny free will. I think a lot of people can reason their way out of believing. But if there is a supercomputer which could somehow measure all of the vibrations from every photon and every electron since the Big Bang and crunch it all up, could it figure out that I'm going to clap my hands right now on this podcast? Well, if there is such a supercomputer, that computer is God, which speaks to the fact that there is both an experiential free will and there is something beyond free will as well. That in some ways I'm responsible for my choices and in some ways I'm not. From a governing point of view, from a justice point of view, we can only organize society around the idea of free will. You couldn't organize society around determinism. It would be an unjust society.
Number 9.
There's an idea that many scientists believe, if it became widely accepted, it could literally end society as we know it, and it stems from the question, do humans have free will? I have two arguments for why we might not. You see, in 1980, there was an experiment where participants were hooked up to a brain monitoring machine that showed their brains were making decisions for them 300 milliseconds before they became consciously aware of their own choice. Later studies showed that when given the choice between pressing two buttons, some brains would decide a whole 7 to 10 seconds before the participant noted that they'd made their decision. It's after this decision has been made in your subconscious that your brain becomes aware and you become convinced you're in the process of making that decision. The second argument comes from how did you decide to watch this video? Well, most of you probably scrolled by it and then made the decision to stay, but the decision you made to stay was only possible because I made this video. I was only able to make this video because I had access to the internet and a computer. Both the internet and computers were invented before I was born, so I never had the choice as to whether I wanted to be exposed to them in the first place, yet here we both are. The idea is that for a decision to really truly be ours, we have to control the circumstances, which we very rarely do.
Number 8.
There were a set of studies in the 1980s that looked at brain activity and decision making.
These were called the Libet experiments, which we'll get to in a moment.
And found that, in fact, your brain starts doing stuff even before you're really conscious of your choice. More specifically, what they found was there was this readiness potential, or this rise in electrical activity in the brain before the participants were really aware of their decision to move their arm.
So there is no evidence this buildup of brain activity, called the readiness potential, has debunked the existence of free will. Benjamin Libet, who ran the experiments, even published papers arguing that the agent has the ability to cancel the readiness potential if she chooses to. However, an even bigger problem is that later research has demonstrated the readiness potential does not correlate with conscious decision-making. Another recent study looked at conscious decision-making in the brain and found no correlation between the readiness potential and deliberation. The Libet experiments never debunked free will.
Number 7.
The illusion of free will is the fact that we feel like a self that is separate from the physical world. And that this self can kind of swoop in and change the course of history or somehow make decisions that are free of the physical world that we're embedded in. But watching the mind make a decision, you get the sense viscerally that there's no self or free will making decisions behind the scenes, but that in terms of your conscious experience, a decision really arises. And so you can do this simple exercise. In the next 30 seconds, decide to either move your toe or your pointer finger. And if you kind of rest in your conscious experience, you will notice that at some point that decision simply arises in your conscious awareness. There's no self who's deciding to make the decision.
Number 6.
The more I ask myself, how much free will do we have at all? And I don't care whether it's genetic or environmental. It doesn't matter. As it manifests, it's as it manifests. Because both of those will combine in whatever amount relative to each other to influence our behaviors. And what is the numbers? It's 70%, 80% of people in prison come from below the poverty line in society. Well, did they have the free will to not land in prison? If they're born in poverty and poverty statistically correlates with that.
Right.
So I'm becoming a free will modernist, if you will, and recognizing, because if we come to terms with that as society, then there are no prisons. Whatever people were doing, you would look at the whole system of punishment differently.
Number 5.
After Krishna has spoken the entire Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna, Krishna says something mind-blowing. Iti te jnanamakyatam guyat guyataram maya vimrashe tadashe shena yathechasi tatha kuru. After Krishna has spoken the entire Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna, Krishna then looks at Arjuna and says, I've given you all the knowledge. Now you think about it, contemplate it, challenge it. Now you consider and reflect on everything I've said. Yata ichha tatha kuru. And then you do what you want to do.
Number 4 by Keshav Saini.
The law of karma says you are a conscious choice maker. And conscious choices may feel tough or uncomfortable in the moment, but in the longer run, they make your life easy, joyful, and abundant. And if you make unconscious choice today, it may feel easy because it's impulsive, but in the longer run, they make your life complex and scattered. So pause your life for a moment and think about what conscious choice you need to make today and what impulsive and unconscious choice you need to accept and finally let go. Can you do it?
Number 3 by Bhavesh.
Right path. Two things. Let's talk about free will. Okay. Free will and destiny. There is nothing called free will. Because when I use the term free will, that means at this moment you can leave your body and come back in your body. At this moment you can stop this time and space. We make our own choices. And when I talk about destiny, destiny is moksha. Destiny, if say I'm meeting Arbhai as my destiny, that means abhi zindagi bhar I'm here only. Because that is English translation. So we have moksha. Secondly, there is only choices. And there's karma. Karma is something very powerful that works. We can't run it. You might be the greatest yogi, but you will, if you have taken a human body, you will go to the law of karma. It is there.
Number 2.
There's an idea that many scientists believe that if it became widely accepted, it would literally end society as we know it. And it stems from the question, why do we do the things that we do? You see, humans have a sense that we control ourselves and our environment a lot more than we actually do. But what if I told you that free will doesn't exist? And there was a famous experiment in the 1980s that proved it, where participants were hooked up to a brain monitoring machine that showed their brains were making the decisions for them 300 milliseconds before they became aware of their own choice. Your brain makes that decision for you. It's after that decision has been made in your subconscious that your brain becomes aware, and you become convinced you're in the process of making that decision. And the second argument actually has to do with this video. How did you choose to watch it? Well, most of you probably scrolled by it and then made the decision to stay, but the decision you made to stay was only possible because I made this video. I was only able to make this video because I had access to the internet and a computer. Both the internet and computers were invented before I was born, so I never had the choice as to whether I wanted to be exposed to them in the first place. Yet, here we both are. The idea is that a decision is only truly ours if we control the circumstances, which we never do, but even then, our brain makes a decision about what we're going to do before we even know what we're going to do.
And finally, number 1.
Lead me, fate, wherever you will, and I will cheerfully follow. For even if I kick and wail, all the same, I must follow. Cleanthes. Do we have free will, or are we prisoners of fate? Do the Stoics believe that we have free will, or that our lives are predetermined? So at first glance, Stoicism might seem deterministic. After all, the Stoics believed in fate, and the idea that the universe unfolds according to a rational and necessary order, governed by the logos, which they define as universal reason or divine intelligence. But they also held that human beings possess free will, or more accurately, the capacity for prohairesis, which means rational choice or moral volition. So let's unpack both these ideas and how the Stoics reconcile. So first, fate, the cosmic order. So the Stoics believe that everything in the universe happens according to the logos, which is the rational principle that structures all things. So for them, though, fate is the total chain of causes, the idea that everything has a cause and those causes are interlinked into a seamless web of necessity.
Hope you enjoyed these videos we have collated for you. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel to see more videos, and thank you for watching.